Hey, good Wednesday morning, everybody. These have got to be some of the most beautiful days of the year here in Southern California. It is absolutely beautiful. It is sunny and warm. It's early and it feels like a summer day. It is absolutely beautiful and so much to cover with you all. We're going to try to have the weigh-in of that 448-pound yellowfin tuna live for you with Sam De La Torre down there at Fisherman's Landing this Saturday morning. We're trying to arrange that right now. We will have the details on the way. And in case you're not up to date, a 448-pound yellowfin tuna caught on the XL could be a new world record. We're also going to be talking about that yellowfin tuna located about 250 miles down below the border. Also, we've got some yellowtail biting out there on Cortez Bank. Great rock fishing, white sea bass in the Channel Islands, and so much more. Hey, I'll shut my trap, get set up. Coming at you next, you know what it is. It's time for the morning briefing. Coming at you next. Can you identify this mystery fish caught off Huntington Beach, California in November of 2024? It weighs well over 100 pounds. As it rises from the depth, are you able to ID it before Captain Dave Dodge comes on here and tells you exactly what it is? What is the mystery fish? Were you able to figure it out before Dave Dodge told you what it was?
That's black. It's a black sea bass. It's a big ass black.
I'm gonna walk it back so they can see it.
Oh yeah, definitely walk it back. That's a big black. Ooh yeah, look at the size of that bad boy. Nice job, Blake.
A big, beautiful black sea bass caught off of Southern California, November of 2024, released unharmed. Hey, good morning, my dear friends, and welcome to beautiful Surfside, California. This absolutely lovely Wednesday morning. It can't get any more gorgeous. As you can see back behind me there, Catalina Island silhouetted in the background. It is sunny and warm this morning. It is absolutely beautiful. We've got so much to talk about. We're going to take you down and cover the long-range scene. We'll talk about what's biting in Ensenada, Baja California Norte, Mexico for all of you. We're going to go out to Cortez Bank. We'll check out the local bite, the Channel Islands, San Clemente Island, and so much more, including the Southern California surf. You know what time it is. It's time for the morning briefing. Good morning, my friends. Man, is that good, and is it great to be with you all. Thank you so much for making time in your busy day to spend some time with us here on Freeman Adventures. If you don't mind, tick that like button right now. I guess pound on that like button and tick the little bell. You'll be notified when there's new content if you hit that bell. So make sure you do that. Also, make sure you share these videos. And if you would subscribe to the Freeman Adventures YouTube channel, I would be so humbled by that. Really appreciate that. Over 15,000 of you have done it already, providing us with millions of views. And speaking of millions of views, we're getting that over there on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok, Apple Podcasts, and Spotify. Really appreciate you all following us in all of those other social media platforms. It is so good to be with you. I'll remind you all at the end of today's morning briefing, stay tuned because Sam De La Torre will be at you with everything you need to be successful on an 8-day trip. If you haven't watched that already, I tagged it on to the morning briefing this morning so you can kick back and enjoy that also. And Sam goes through in great detail exactly the kind of tackle you'll need to bring on an 8-day trip. Of course, a lot of that is for all of you who will be joining me on Monday morning as we board the Independence at Point Loma Sport Fishing. And coming back in will be Kevin Kwan from Young's Fishing Tackle in Bellflower, California. Man, I can't wait to see Kevin. He is such gentlemen, and they are having a phenomenal trip. So why don't we start right there? The Independence is down fishing on a 10-day trip, I believe it is. They're on a 10-day trip. Yesterday, they moved down to the lower banks to get a peek at that, and Sharon caught a 200-plus pound yellowfin tuna. They had a lot of heartbreaks down there. They got that one cow, fish over 200 pounds, and then a lot of heartbreaks. Now, previous to that, they were fishing up on the ridge where they had phenomenal yellowfin tuna fishing on smaller, great, but still really beautiful fish like 30 to 100 pound yellowfin tuna biting full speed. They'll bite the 100 pound if you throw it at them. They'll bite the 80 pound for sure, and you can get all the bites you want on 40 pound. I mean, full speed, but you're going to lose a lot of fish because they're big and they're tough and they're mean and they're a lot of fun. There's also some great yellowtail action down there and also some fantastic wahoo fishing at times. That is an 8-day range. You guys that are on the Independence with Freeman Adventures, fasten your safety belts because this is really looking good. Great fishing on the Independence and all the long-range boats for that matter. The Royal Polaris, the XL, all of these guys have been having phenomenal fishing. And we already mentioned the XL a moment ago, headed home on Saturday morning at Fisherman's Landing in San Diego, where they're going to weigh that 448-pound yellowfin tuna in on Saturday morning, and the previous record is 445. Now, there can be some dehydration. The scale could be off. That fish might weigh 430 something. It might weigh 470 something. By the way, my over and under on the fish. So will it be over the weight I'm going to give you or under the weight I'm going to give you? My over under is 450 pounds. 450 is my over under. Drop a comment down below. Will the XL's fish be under 450 pounds or over 450 pounds? I'd be curious to know what you think. Just awesome long-range fishing going on for all the boys right now. We can't wait to jump on board on Monday morning. That's going to be a lot of fun. Once again, at the end of today's morning briefing, you're going to be able to check out Sam De La Torre as he goes through in great detail exactly what you'll need in case you have an 8-day trip coming up, or you just want to kind of prepare for a future adventure. And man, are they a lot of fun. No question about that. Now, let's talk a little bit about this yellowfin tuna. Remember, down there at about 260, 270 miles now, south of Point Loma, San Diego. So you run south down the Baja coast, down about 250, 260, 270. That fish is continuing to move down the Baja coast. It's been really outstanding fishing. The Spirit of Adventure headed home now with the tax man, Tim Marquez. He was on board, he said. Phenomenal fishing. They also had several nice big bluefin in the 50 to 150 pound class. The yellowfin down there, 30 to about 100 pounds. And Tim said it couldn't get any better. Incidentally, you got tax problems or you just want to get your taxes under control, call the tax man right now. He'll be in here shortly and be able to help you out. Maybe give you a yellowfin tuna fillet. Who knows? So really great fishing going on. A 4-day trip on board the Pacific Voyager down that neck of the woods, 178 on the yellowfin tuna. Great fishing. And once again, they bite the heavy line. They love biting those poppers. You get to see the explosion on your jig when you're throwing a popper that moves along the surface of the water. Those fish blow out on it, and nothing will pump you up, get your adrenaline really going more than seeing a yellowfin tuna come up and try to eat your popper or a surface iron. There's nothing more fun than that. Really great fishing down there. That is continuing. Hopefully, it's going to continue to push us right into the new year. Who knows how long that fish is going to be around. I would recommend at least a 4-day trip to get to that fish and give you a credible amount of time on it. You're going to need at least a 4-day trip, so we'll keep our eyes on that for you very closely. In the Ensenada area, now I'm just talking about the pongeros, the guys that fish skiffs out of there. There's also a wide variety of other boats down there, like six-pack yachts. You can fish out of the beautiful coastal town of Ensenada, Baja California. About a 70-mile drive south of the border. You're in Ensenada. You're eating fish tacos. You're enjoying the ambience of Baja California. There is nothing better. And they are focused in a lot right now on rockfish. Great rock fishing going on. Baja fishing the other day. Diego Puentes was fishing straight jigs, no bait on the bottom grabbers, and he had several huge fish. In fact, they had easy limits. And also, there is a little bit of bass around. Captain Ihara Nunez here recently had some nice big sand bass and calico bass. Not full speed, but some quality fish. No doubt about that. You can really sample either one of those two things. In terms of the offshore bite, really not happening right now, but with this kind of gorgeous weather, wow. I just got to marvel at that once again. I hope maybe a pot of dolphin go through there so you get that little treat also. But absolutely beautiful, beautiful, beautiful here today. They may be able to get down to Punta Colinet, which is 120 miles south of the border, or another 50 miles below San Diego. There was a good show of bluefin tuna down in that neck of the woods, so hopefully we're going to see more and more of that as the tide comes up and engulfs my tripod this morning. Wow, beautiful. I'm loving every moment of this morning. If you can come down here and just go for a walk today, you owe it to yourself to do so. It is fabulous here this morning. All right, so there you have it. By the way, if your garage door is a pain in the neck, and whose garage door isn't? I mean, they're always acting up some way. Joe Welker. Joe will take care of that for you. He can install a new garage, fix your old one, anything you need. Give Joe a call this morning. All right, let's bring it up here now to Southern California and talk offshore. And we're going to look beyond Catalina Island, which you see out there this morning. Beautiful. And then you're going to come to San Clemente Island, which is about 60 miles from where I'm standing. And then another 20, 25 miles past there, Tanner, Cortez Bank. And boy, I'll tell you, we had such a great season on the bluefin tuna out there again in 2024, but that has really backed off. There's a few fish there. Most of them are smaller grade, like 15-pound fish biting on 25-pound fluorocarbon, a fly line bait, and really good hot bait. You got to choose that. And also a really small circle hook, like a number 4 circle hook. Go with a circle hook. You're fishing a small hook, you're going to want to get them in the corner of the mouth, because with a J hook, you might hook them down deep, and then they're going to chew through that 25-pound with the greatest of ease. Having said all of that and giving you those tackle tips, you're lucky to get, a bluefin tuna right now. 1 or 2, maybe 10 we've seen here recently. Maybe we'll see a few scores like that. But most of the guys out there are focused on yellowtail on Cortez Bank. And there's been some decent scores. The Polaris Supreme on a 2-day trip out there. Last time I heard from him, I think he had 50 plus on the yellowtail. Nice grade yellows out on Cortez just about always. I mean, everything's over 15 pounds, and some of it gets up and bigger than that. A lot of times it's dropper loop fishing. Other times it's fly line fishing. And the fluorocarbon, again, sometimes you got to drop down to get a bite, but in most cases you're going to be fishing the 40-pound. But a lot of times also you'll drop down to 25-pound. There's been some other hits out there, and there's been some misses also. Plenty of big rockfish to help fill the sacks out there. So you are guaranteed of a nice hit on that. So really, really good stuff going on out there. If you like the rockfish, if you like a shot of yellowtail, the bluefin bite is off the bite. And to go back to that yellowtail, there's scores out there also where you get 10 fish, 12 fish. Depends upon boat pressure. And as we get deeper into the fall and into the winter time, the boat pressure obviously goes down. But you get a weekend and you get a lot of boats out there, and it makes things way more difficult on you. So keep that in mind. Don't forget, at the end of today's report, Sam De La Torre with everything you'll need for an 8-day fishing trip. You're going to want to take advantage of that. Sam's great, and hopefully he'll be able to come to us live from Fisherman's Landing when they weigh that 448 in on Saturday morning. That's going to be exciting, no question about that. All right, on this beautiful morning, let's also talk about what's going on at our islands. Coronado Islands, we still see some yellowtail meandering around there, but they just don't want to bite. Most of the guys fishing the islands right now are catching rockfish. As we talked about San Clemente Island, there's the occasional yellowtail there. There's also a few white sea bass. There's a lot of squid that has moved in there, and of course there's predators right behind that. So hopefully we'll see more and more of that. Few bass, mostly rockfish. Catalina Island, beautiful big rockfish out there at Catalina Island, fishing 300 feet or more right now. So you're definitely going to want to bring a 16-ounce torpedo sinker, the El Patron, the Pursuit, several other guys have had some great fishing out there. Sometimes they'll fish in the shallows and catch some sheephead and whitefish. And private boaters have scored on halibut and even a few white sea bass at Catalina Island here recently. So maybe that's in our future. Right now, it's been mostly rockfish. On November the 23rd, a special trip on the El Patron. If they get enough people to row, we're going to celebrate Charlie Zimmer's birthday. Young man, his dad is coming, and his dad, Chuck Zimmer, is the president of the Redondo Beach Rod and Gun Club. Chuck does such a fabulous job wrapping rods, and he's going to give away one of those rods to one of you who are on that November 23rd El Patron trip. I hand you a raffle ticket when you walk on board. There's no cost for that. It's just part of the trip. So make sure you book on the El Patron for this weekend, or if you want to take advantage of that special trip, November 23rd, just go to www.longbeachsportfishing.org and get on the El Patron as we move you up the coast, the Channel Islands. Every once in a while, a big explosion of white sea bass, most of that taking place on the Endeavor out of Ventura Sport Fishing. There's been some incredible scores of white sea bass, and when they're not catching white sea bass, or even when they are, they're still loading up on copious amounts of big, beautiful reds and vermilions and bocaccio and all the bottom fish you could possibly want. Really great fishing up there. There's also been some huge lings taken recently on several of the boats like the Aloha Spirit. And of course, the Island Spirit, who runs half day out of Ventura Sport Fishing, leaves at 8 a.m. and comes back at 4 p.m. That's way more than a half day, as you can hear. Man, have they had some great fishing with easy limits on a regular basis. Friday, they go deep water. Saturday, more fun up there in the Channel Islands. And Sunday, kids fish free. Get on board the Island Spirit with my dear friend, Captain Daniel Hottaway, and his magnificent crew by calling 805-676-3474 or go to VenturaSportFishing.com. So good fishing there, and we move you up to Avila Beach and Morro Bay, and even San Francisco, Monterey. Big links, great rock fishing when the weather permits. We've had some wind here recently. That's subsiding a little bit, but as you can see, it's generated some pretty big seas back behind me there. When you see that, you know there's wind somewhere. Obviously not here. You don't see any wind at all. You get outside of this, and you got a flat, calm, gorgeous, beautiful day on your hands. I don't know how it gets any more lovely than it is here this morning. Taking a look now at half and three-quarter day guys from San Diego up to the Channel Islands and beyond. It's been mostly sheephead, whitefish, and rockfish. You know, down there at Dana Point, they've been catching and releasing a lot of sand and calico bass. We see similar kinds of things going on in the Santa Monica Bay. Redondo's had a little bit of bass, and they've also been seeing some pretty good fishing up there on the twilight trips out of Marina Del Rey. So we've had that. Now, sand dab fishing. Have you ever done it? Well, don't knock it till you try it. Out of Redondo Sport Fishing, my dear friend Tom Durr.
Chop, chop, let's go. Chop, chop, let's go. Chop, chop, let's go.
Is running a trip on November the 21st out of Redondo Sport Fishing, sand dab fishing. Man, those things are great eating, and you can catch all your little heart desires. No limit on sand bass. Fish multiple hooks, like 10, 12 hooks, and load up on those delicious fish. One of these days here very soon, I'm going to go out with Tom, and then we're going to take that fish to a Korean restaurant and have them prepare it for us and show you exactly how delicious it truly is. So, Tom Durr, Redondo Sport Fishing, November 21st. You can go sand dab fishing with the mighty Tom Durr out of there. Hey, lobster fishing, we're still seeing some good lobster hoop netting, I should say. Promar with the nets that catch you all those great langostas on board the Triton, LA Harbor Sport Fishing. 10 guys, 34 legal lobster. Those things are expensive, man. You get a couple of those and your trip is paid for. They released 77, so a lot of action. And the Gale Force with 7 guys, same thing. Out of LA Harbor, they had 29 legal fish and released 49. So lobster hoop netting still alive and strong here in Southern California. No doubt about that. All right, my friends, stay tuned. Sam De La Torre is coming up next. You're not going to want to miss that. I'll be keeping you in touch with all the very latest. Any breaking news today, you'll see it over there on Facebook and Instagram and TikTok, as well as here on YouTube. In the meantime, man, I hope you get to come down here and experience this. It is absolutely beyond words. It's so beautiful. Really, really a lovely day. Hope you're out in the water. If not, I hope you get out soon. And I hope to see you really, really soon. Take care, my friends. Hey everybody, welcome to a very special edition of Freedman Adventures. I'm here at Island Fishing Tackle. We have an 8-day trip coming up on board the Independence. We're really looking forward to it. Sam De La Torre is going to take a little bit of time and tell you about the gear that you need to be successful with on an 8-day trip out of San Diego. So without further ado, here's Sam De La Torre.
All right, guys. So today what we're going to be talking about is kind of your general tackle recommendations for 8-day trip. Phil's going to be having an 8-day trip going out here next week. So real common question we've been getting is, well, what do I need? You know, so a lot of you guys are going to have 99% of it. And so what we're going to go through is just kind of, you know, piece by piece, exactly what you would need, kind of your bare minimum to maybe a little bit over that, just to be sure. Most of the stuff that they're getting this year, the big news is they're getting all that big tuna on the ridge. You know, where normally we would get tuna down there 25 to 40 pounds. This year, a lot of that fish has been 50 to 80, even some fish over 100 pounds. And so that's kind of changed a little bit of the gear that we need to take. Not so much more of it, but maybe we're concentrating more on the heavier side than normally we would concentrate more on your like 30, 40 pound test. Now it's going to be more on your 50 to 80 pound test. And good thing those things are biting the heavy line too, so we can get them in a little bit easier. And then the other part of those 8-day trips is wahoo fishing. That's the one thing that we do get on those kind of trips that you wouldn't get, let's say, normally like on a 3-day local trip or something like that. So we'll start off with the 40-pound rig here. I have a Penn Torque 25 narrow. It's on a CalStar 875 XH. And I have 40-pound test on this guy here. So any rod that's kind of going to be in that same general poundage and length here. I like a 7.5 foot rod, something that's rated 30 to 60, like that one is there. Then the next guy up here is going to be something a little bit bigger. I have the Accurate 600 narrow, and this is on an 875 XH. This guy's rated 40 to 80, and I'm fishing 50 pound on this guy here. These are all pretty much going to be live bait rigs. And then after that, I'm going to go to a double XH. This is a 7.5 foot 700 double XH, and it's matched up with a Makara 15T. I like this reel here because it holds quite a bit of 80 pound. It'll hold a little bit more 80 pound than the other reels that are maybe a little smaller than this, and you don't have to go to a bigger reel, which sometimes you would be able to fish 80 with, but this is a lot more comfortable size. Also has a nice big handle. When you are fishing 80, you are going to be putting more pressure on the fish, using more drag, so that bigger handle is going to come into play for that. And then, did I say 60 or 80? I think this is going to be your 80-pound rig here. I did say 80 in the beginning now.
60 days.
Huh?
That one was 60 days.
60 days. So this guy here is a Makara 16. So this guy I'm going to fish 80 on. It's a bigger reel for sure, and it kind of separates from that guy there, but it'll also serve a multi-purpose if you want to. We're going to get into some other like kind of auxiliary style rods, but this might also serve as a trolling rod. It might also serve as a dropper loop rod, or even something you would fish grouper with. So for a lot of guys, this would be about as big as you need to go. You would just change out your top shot. When you're fly lining, you can fish 80 pound. When you're dropper loop fishing or trolling, you can put 100 pound if you want. And for that grouper fishing, you might even put like a 200 pound leader. Not that you need it because you're going to break the 200 pound, but maybe they get into some rocks or something like that. So this is going to be something that might serve multi-purpose. And this is a Makara 16. on a United Composites 76 Centaur. Like I was saying earlier, there's some other rigs you might take. It's not necessary that you have them 100%. Sometimes the boat will have gear like this, but it's going to be a trolling rod. This is what I take. It is a CalStar 775 3X with an International 30, and I have it top shotted with a 100-pound mono. And that's basically what I'm going to troll my Nomad DTX with here. This is going to be your main trolling rig, which you use all the time. But if you do take this, this will probably take over the duties of that dropper loop fishing and your grouper fishing. So this is a rig that I take, and I get a lot of use out of for that reason. I like to have a separate trolling rig because sometimes somebody might skip their trolling turn, and if I have one ready to go, I'll kind of jump in there and get another opportunity at another wahoo. Another rig that I like to take, and once again, not 100% necessary, but I'll take a 50. This is an ATD 50 accurate, and it's going to be on a United Composites 7'6" Invictus. This is a pretty heavy rod. This is going to be something that you would normally see for guys either fishing the kite or even fishing big tuna locally or big tuna down below, like where they're getting those giants down there on the lower banks. This is the size of rod you would kind of see on that kind of fishing. But even on your 8-day, you might find use for this for the grouper fishing. That grouper is going to be pretty much the heaviest pulling fish that you can possibly hook, and sometimes having a heavier rig for that might come into play. So that's pretty much the rundown on the rigs. Like I said, the first four are for sure, or four are for sure you got to have. The other ones are going to be a little bit extra. Now we're going to move on to some wahoo, which you could use those rigs, especially that 50-pound, 40-pound, 50-pound, 60-pound. You could use those to cast your Raiders or your bombs. Would work fine with that. But once again, I have a separate rig that I'll use for my my bombs and my other wahoo jigs. And you could take like a 9-foot rod. I have a Trinidad 20 on here. This is a 9-foot. It's actually a Phoenix rod, but normally I'll take a couple CalStars along with this guy here. I'll take 3 jig rods just because I love throwing jigs so much, but that's not normal, not something you got to have. But I like to have these rods set up with either a surface iron for yellowtail fishing or one of these wahoo jigs like this here. So that's another rig there, which once again, not 100%. Always have to have it. You can use one of those other rigs. And the reason that works out that way is also typically when you're fishing for wahoo, you're not really targeting tuna at the same time, even though sometimes you will hook a tuna. When you're targeting wahoo, that's going to be a separate thing, and you kind of cut off your bait hook and just tie on a wahoo jig. And then towards the end of the trip, if you guys are lucky enough to have where everybody's got their fill of tuna and wahoo, you guys might fish up the coast, and something like this might come into play, just a bass rod. So any kind of 8-foot rod with a 300 or 400 size bait caster to fish bass along the coast can be something fun to do. Once again, not 100% necessary, but might add to your trip. Now we're going to get on to the tackle. We're going to start off with what's going to be at the end of your line, which is going to be fluorocarbon leader. And any of this stuff here, the major brands, I have some stuff from AFCO, from Promar, Seagar, and Yozuri. It's all good stuff. You just want to make sure you're picking up, a top brand to take down with you. The sizes that you're going to need, for sure. Once again, you could take things that are smaller and bigger, but in this case, 40 to 80 pound is what you want to carry for sure. All this stuff works good. The cycle's been working really good for me. I like it. The packaging is a little bit big. So for you guys that want to kind of keep your tackle bags kind of like smaller, this Yozuri is pretty nice because it comes in a much smaller package. The Seagar's pretty much been around for a long time and everyone's comfortable with that. And then this new stuff from Promar has been gaining some popularity, so you guys might want to try that out. As far as your hooks are concerned, typically when we're tuna fishing, we usually are talking circle hooks, especially for this local bluefin. It's almost kind of a necessity because we're using smaller hooks and something that you want to hook into the corner of the mouth and just stand a better chance at landing them. With the stuff that they're catching down below, you're typically using a little bit heavier line. Even these 50 to 80 pound tuna, they'll bite 80 pound. So you're going to have a lot of protection from that, no problem. But so you may not need a circle hook, but definitely not going to be, off the menu. If you already have it, 2.0 to 4.0 size circle hooks is going to be what you got to have. And if you already have that, you're going to be good for your trip. I like using a J hook. It is a little bit easier to hook a bait and get your bait out there. So I'll go with more like a gorilla hook, same sizes, 2.0 to 4.0. Also, I like this guy from Gamakatsu. It's just a standard live bait hook, a little bit lighter. And if I feel like the fish maybe aren't as wide open as we've kind of been seeing them lately, then I'll go to something like that that's a little bit lighter, but still same sizes, 2.0 to 4.0. When you get into your dropper loop yellowtail fishing, that's going to require a bigger hook. So I like using something like this here. This is the Owner Offshore 9.0. And the reason we can use a big hook like that is usually you're going to be using a full-size mackerel or scad. And so when you're doing that, you can just get into a bigger hook using one of those bigger rigs and really kind of just muscle those fish out of the structure if you guys are fishing in that. Another one too that's good is that Gamakatsu. They have a heavy duty live bait 9.0. So something bigger that's going to handle your dropper loop fishing. And then last but not least, this kind of a bigger hook, something that you would normally see like, you know, kind of an old school like marlin hook looks like here, but really it's just a big bait hook. This is a Mustache 7691 8.0, and you would use this for possibly when you're fishing grouper, either with the big mackerel, or at times some of those places on the ridge you're going to be using a small skipjack, so 5 or 6 pound skipjack. You'll fish that on the bottom, basically, kind of rigged up like this here with a giant X sinker. Something like that there. So that's all your hooks there. As far as your sinkers, you might use some small egg sinkers like that. Call it 3/8 to an ounce. And then maybe pick up a couple of those larger egg sinkers for like that grouper fishing like I was talking about. That might come into play as well. You're also going to want to have maybe some 4 to 6 ounce smaller torpedoes. And you might do some dropper loop fishing with that, maybe along the coast for some halibut. But also, too, is you're going to want to pick up some sabikis to catch bait, especially if you guys are going to go and fish some of that dropper loop yellowtail. The boat might go and catch some mackerel for that. So pick up maybe 2 of those. That should be fine. Normally, you wouldn't probably do that more than twice on an 8-day trip. Have the sinkers to go with it. And then some 16-ounce sinkers. If you guys don't get that kind of stuff and still fish dropper loop, you're going to be mostly using 16 ounces, even with those mackerel, but the same thing with the sardine fishing on the dropper loop. So have them your 16 ounces. So everything from like a 4 ounce to a 16 ounce. You don't have to take every single size in between, but I'd say 4 to 6 ounce, a couple of those, and then a 16 ounce, maybe a couple of those. All right, so now we're going to get into the tuna fishing. Other than bait, you guys might consider picking up some poppers. This clear popper has been kind of, you know, the hottest thing around for a while. Yo-Zuri makes this nice bull pop here. One of the things I like about this guy is that it's a little heavier than the other ones. So if you wanted to throw it on a heavier rig, this would cast a little easier. But there's so many of them out there. Shimano makes a nice one, and as well. And so just maybe take a couple of those and have some fun. You know, rarely do we have an opportunity to fish that tuna where it's just when it's wide open, it'll kind of eat everything. So some popper fishing might be something you guys might look into. And then on the troll, if you guys wanted to catch some of that tuna on the troll, especially up a little bit higher where you guys are going to be fishing for that stuff, you might try a smaller trolling jig like this, a smaller Rapala or a smaller Yo-Zuri Bonita. That'll get you into your tuna fishing for the troll. Once you get into the Wahoo area, you're going to go to these larger jigs here. DTX from Nomad has been pretty much a staple. They just came out with this DTX HD or heavy duty. We've been selling these really, really well. It's a little bit sturdier lure. It apparently has been working really well. All the guys that have been taking them down have been having good luck with them, and they're holding up really well. So this guy's been a good one. You should have one of these in your tackle box. Although a lot of guys probably have something like this already. This is the Yo-Zuri Bonita, kind of formerly known as a Marauder. If you got these are still part of the equation. You know, these have definitely kind of made their impact, and guys are having good luck with these, but you want to at least have a couple of these in your tackle box. And then now we're going to get into the casting. So you're trolling along, you get into a jig strike. The next thing is going to be casting a Wahoo jig. And basically what that is, it's going to be kind of a metal jig. Usually it's something shinier or brighter. So we got these here. These are Raider jigs here, gold Raider jigs. Catchy Tackle has some gold jigs as well. They make them other colors in gold, but the gold is probably the better color. And then your bombs. Also kind of another staple here. This is going to be from Catchy Tackle. They have this already pre-rigged with wire. So they're ready to go. You just tie it onto the swivel and you go. JRI has these nice suicide bombs. And with these here, you're basically gonna either tie some heavy fluoro. A lot of guys will use like 130 or 150, or you'll put some wire on them. And so these come in all kinds of different colors, and so that's good idea to have these, especially when the fish get a little bit finicky. You might choose to fish those with some heavy fluoro instead of the wire, and that does get some more bites. Salas also makes some jigs that actually the last couple of years have been super popular. This guy here has no bright colors, but it's been working pretty good too. But they also make some more traditional wahoo colors there too, and sometimes these jigs work as good or better than the bombs or the other ones. So that's going to be your wahoo stuff there as far as casting jigs. After that, if they get really finicky, which it can happen, is you're going to get into your wahoo bait leaders. So you got to have some of these. So these are going to be usually like from a 2.0 to a 4.0 hook, and your wire size would be, I would say 30 to 50 pound on the wire. The finickier they are, the lighter wire you have to go, and maybe even the smaller hook too. So those wahoo can sometimes get a lot of pressure, and the only way to hook them might be on bait. We do sell them already pre-made. A lot of shops do, or you want to buy the tackle to make them yourself. And there's lots of different tools out there. Mustad makes a really nice one, pretty inexpensive, that works on this smaller wire. And on one of the things you might consider is buying the titanium wire. The reason being, and I'm sure you guys have heard about the titanium wire, but the big benefit is that it doesn't get kinked up as much. With the standard stainless wire, if you hook a small tuna, almost guaranteed it's going to be so kinked up that you won't be able to use it again. You have to cut it off and tie on a new one. Now, they are a lot more affordable, so there's always going to be, depending on how you want to go, whether it's going to be something you want to buy a lot of these and kind of go through these, or buy some of this stuff. It's a little more expensive, but you won't have to retie as much. So that's the option there. And then the other thing too is one of my favorite things to do is fishing the surface iron. Now, normally we're going to be fishing for yellowtail many places, but sometimes the surface iron will get a wahoo bite as well. I've caught several wahoo on the surface iron. I've wired them up and not wired them up, and actually I feel like I've gotten more bites with no wire. The biggest difference here is the presentation. With all this other stuff wahoo related, you're winding as fast as you can. I mean, literally as fast as you can. Whereas with this, you're going to wind it at a regular, what I would call yellowtail speed, which would be kind of a medium to medium slow, and you'll get a bite on the wahoo on these. You do get bit off, and so you will go through a few, but at times, once again, when they're a little more finicky, it seems like they'll react to something like this a little bit better. I don't know if they get a better look at it or something like that. And then we'll end it with some couple of just yo-yo irons. This will kind of be something else. We're kind of jumping back here, but if you guys do fish up the coast, you guys might take some yo-yo irons to fish some of that yellowtail in the different spots. Besides that, guys, I mean, obviously you're going to have your dikes and your other personal items. Make sure you bring a towel and things like that. But this kind of pretty much covers all of the tackle. If you guys see something that I'm missing, put it in the comments. I'll do my best to try to answer those questions, and I think that does it.